Edit it.
Yeah, should work in the movie maker.
Yeah,
All right,
you just
ready?
yeah.
I'll do a 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1,
Yeah.
go. Here we are. Okay, first show, first podcast ever. Kevin Tucker on the Tuckshow, coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, and really. I just want to tell folks out there, if I get more than one listener, which would be fucking sweet. Really, the show is about friends and pals and interesting stories and good laughs, and we're just going to see where it goes.
First 10 subscribers get a free tin of Copenhagen.
free Copenhagen and and a coffee.
Yeah,
that's about it. So yeah, really, that's the deal. We want to extract some good stories and some interesting ones and fun ones, and we'll see where it goes. But so my first guest is Barkley Sauter, an old pal, one of my best buddies and business partner, life partner, neighbor.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you.
Thanks for lending me these sweet headphones.
Those are my daughters, who's
surprisingly clear audio.
She's 27, so those. Yeah, no, that's all we had, and we have no idea what we're doing with this stuff, but we're gonna figure it out as we go. So Barksy and I have known each other for, I don't want to do the math on it, but when would we have met?
Well, I was 16, 1992, 93, and I was playing junior in Weyburn, Saskatchewan in the SJHL. You were at Notre Dame. And I think the first time we ran into each other was during the All-Star break that year. Obviously, the guys that weren't in the All-Star break, it's a weekend to blow off some steam. So we piled in a car and headed up to Regina. And yeah, I'm sure most of the teams in the South did the same thing. And I think we all ended up at PJ Mellon's.
PJ Mellon's in Regina, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's there anymore. I don't think it's been there for a while, but
no. I would have no.
Tapped me on the shoulder while I was on the speaker dancing, probably quite sweaty with my hair all over the place. Said, yeah. I like you. Let's have a drink. And ever since then, I think we've been buddies.
Well, yeah, that was your signature move in the bar, sweaty with hair all over, and you've got no idea what you're doing or where you are. But yeah. My recollection of the first time meeting you, and actually not meeting you and finding out who you were, is, so yeah, like you said, I was playing at Notre Dame, right? And that was my last year, so I would have been captain there, right?
Yeah.
For Notre Dame in Wilcox, and we had a game in Weyburn, and I specifically remember a line brawl, and Weyburn was really good. Like you guys had.
Well, we went to the Nationals that year.
That year?
Yeah, we lost in the semi. It was still called the Centennial Cup. It's now the Royal Bank Cup or whatever. But yeah, that year we had. Well, I think we had 4 guys with over 100 points.
Holy Christ! Well, you had I remember Chris Porter, of course, and Craig McKechnie, good buddy still to this day, and who else did you have? Tyler McMillan, right? Yeah.
I think McMillan, Porter, and McKechnie were our first line, and then we had 3 French guys. Alain Saint-Hilaire.
Oh yeah, Saint-Hilaire, he was really good too. Yeah.
Yeah. Scanzano, and I can't remember the other guy on that line, but he was also from Quebec. And then our third line was like Clint Wensley, who had 100 points as our third line center. And then he kind of just rotated wingers. He had David Zweier, who's actually a Calgary guy.
Yeah.
He was always his line mate. And then myself, Rob Bratton, Mike Curry, and a couple other guys kind of rotated through that line. And then, yeah, we were strong. We had some older D like Dan Kopeck,
I remember Kopeck.
Yeah, Derek Boozelink.
Tough. Kopeck was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, great big guy. That's actually a funny story. That's how I made the team as a 16-year-old. We're in camp. I have the puck along the boards, and somebody just cross-checks me from behind, go flying into the boards head first. I get up not thinking, like, not even looking who it was. My gloves are already off. I turn around, and it's Dan Kopeck. So now I got to fight this 6'5", 230-pound. He played in the WHL up until that year for Brandon, I think, and basically was just, a fighter.
Yeah.
So anyways, I held my own, and our old coach there, Dwight, came after the scrimmage, was like, well, looks like you got a place on this team or whatever. And I was like, oh, like I didn't go into that year thinking I was going to play there. I thought I'd probably end up playing AAA midget or something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I ended up making the team, and then actually that year was pretty fun. We had a great team.
Well, we were the quintessential opposites, I would say, at Notre Dame that year. No offense to anybody in our team, but we were like first place. I remember going into Christmas, we were in first place, and we missed the playoffs. We missed the playoffs that year. But I do specifically remember the first time realizing who you were, and I used to hang out with those guys. Some of the guys at Notre Dame there when we were living, or some of your guys in Weyburn, and we would go into Regina and rip it up and have a good time and party, like you said. And anyways, that we had a line brawl against you guys, and it was a 5-on-5, typical for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, or any league for that matter at that time. And I remember I got squared off, which is funny. It was with Darcy Verreau, who ended up having a pretty good career. I didn't know who he was at the time, but I ended up sitting on him, basically pumping the poor guy. I'm pretty sure he was younger than me as well. Not saying I was a goon by any stretch, but I ended up sitting on him. But I remember seeing a guy looping around on the ice, sucker guys, and challenging other guys to scrap. And that's when I heard your name for the first time. This is Barkley Sauter. Now, I didn't realize till later, but after hanging out with these guys in Regina, and then you came in on one of those rippers, and you and I, we lit the town on fire. PJ Mellons, we got kicked out of every bar together, and I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. This guy is a blast. And then one of your guys said, he's 16, right? I was 20 or 21. But,
it was a strange year because, like I said, we had a lot of older guys. So all my buddies were 19 and 20 years old. Here I am 16. It's a bit of an eye opener. You kind of get just thrown into the fire, right? Yeah. You know how those junior small towns, like it's just, you play hard, you work hard at practice, and then you go party hard too. But I don't know if that line brawl was the same one, but I tell this story every once in a while when the kids ask me did I ever get beat up real bad or whatever, right? And I remember who was the big tall guy in Notre Dame? Like he was huge.
Oh, great. That'd be a great segue. But he Steve McKenna, you're thinking of. Steve McKenna?
Yeah.
6 foot 6'8"? Was that the guy?
Yeah,
he
was
a couple of big guys.
Yeah, he was like the biggest guy I'd ever played against.
Anyways, go ahead.
Might have been the year after, but so we get into a bit of a scuffle along the boards. It was right at Notre Dame's bench, and he kind of had me bent over the boards, and my helmet came off, and he just pumped the back of my head like so many times. Anyways, the only thing I really remember about it after is the next day at practice, I had to wear a toque at practice. I couldn't put my helmet on. I had so many Barney Rubbles on top of my head. Yeah. So I was wheeling around. I couldn't literally get my helmet on. My head was so sore.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious. So how many years did you play in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And by the way, before I went out there, I had come out from Ontario, and I remember everybody there had said that's where men go to become, or boys go to become men. Sorry, the Saskatchewan
Right.
Junior Hockey League, and I mean, that was one of the toughest leagues going for sure.
Yeah, I think they're in the 90s. That league was, a lot of guys were getting scholarships out of that league, and it was
Mm-hmm.
tough. Like it was, we
Yeah.
had some really tough teams. I ended up playing 1 year in Weyburn, and then I got traded
Mm-hmm.
that summer to Melfort, and I ended up playing 3 years there. And then I didn't play my 20-year-old year. That's when we reconnected back out at Acadia after in 1997 or whatever. But yeah, I know the SJ was, even the team we had in Melfort when we hosted the Royal Bank Cup my 18-year-old year, so in '96. We had we had a tough team. We had like Willie Mitchell, Curtis Dole, Devin Hartnell. All these guys were good players, but they were all tough as nails too.
Right.
Even that first year I went to Melfort, our top scorer, this Barkley Swenson. I don't know if you remember Swenny.
I remember Barkley Swenson. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. He was good and he was tough, right?
Like he was a kind of grew up as like a rodeo kid, like did the outriding. He came to the
Yep.
Stampede and did outriding stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
but he had like he had 150 points, and he was the toughest guy on our team by far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. So you,
Different world now, I think, though.
well, hey, no contact in the OHL this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man.
How ridiculous is that? It's brutal. How
I
many?
don't
So
think
how
they
many
can
years
do
did you
that.
play? Sorry, in the SJ?
4 years.
4 years, and then so you ended up. So after that, you ended up in Melfort, right?
After Weyburn, I went to Melfort. Yeah.
And then you won a championship there, didn't you?
The SJ. Yeah. So I
Oh, the
won
SJ.
two. I won two SJHL championships. The 1 year in Weyburn, my first year
Mhm.
in Weyburn, and
Yeah.
then again in Melfort in 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
And
then
I never won a national championship. We lost in the final in Melfort. We basically dominated that whole year, like right through start to finish. We were stacked,
mm-hmm.
and we got into the tournament. Won every game in the round robin. I think the closest game was 5-1 against like Vernon or somebody.
Right.
And then we ended up playing Vernon in the final, and we outshot them 42-21 and lost 2-0.
Wow.
Too hot goalie, yeah.
Nice.
Fun year though.
So
yeah.
you, how many guys that you played with, would have went on to the NHL? Anyway, so I guess with the exception of like Willie Mitchell, of course. Anybody else?
Willie would be the most games played with the
mm-hmm.
guy that I played with. He obviously had, 1-2 Stanley Cups, played forever.
Mm-hmm.
Our goalie, Scott Fankhauser, he was an American guy.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up playing some games in the NHL with Atlanta back in the day when Atlanta was still a team.
Yeah.
And then our other goalie, my cousin actually, Joel Lang, he ended up playing in Pittsburgh's system for a few years. Ended up going over and playing overseas for a bit, but he had a really long career. That year, Willie and Daryl Andrews, who we know here in Calgary, they both got drafted by New Jersey off of our team in Melfort. So he ended up playing in Albany for a bunch of years and then over in here for a bunch of years. Curtis Dole, one of our D-men, he signed with Florida and then ended up getting he played in the American League for a couple years, but ended up having to shut it down due to concussions.
Right.
Yeah. And then a bunch of guys played some American League games, obviously lots of East Coast games and stuff like that. But yeah, Devin Hartnell, like brother to Scott Hartnell, he was a great player. He ended up playing in Hamilton for a while. Lots of guys. And then a bunch of guys I still keep in touch with. Ended up obviously going down to the States and playing NCAA, and a lot of them ended up in Minneapolis. So there's probably 5 or 6 guys off that team that are in that area. And so before COVID, I used to fly down there and we'd just have like a golf weekend or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a good group. We just had I guess it would have been 25-year anniversary not too long ago. So
Mm-hmm.
we all ended up going, or maybe it was our 20th from that year, and we all ended up going to Melfort and you know, doing
Blowing it
actually
out.
yeah, we blew it out pretty good. Yeah. We played some golf, and they had a big Willie got inducted into the SJ Hall of Fame. So did Kevin Dickey, our coach.
Dicks, yeah.
Yeah, Dick's. And so
Nice.
that's how I ended up getting to Acadia.
Mm-hmm.
Little segue there is Dick's coached me in junior, and I was kind of on the fence of playing my 20-year-old year in the SJ. So he called, and he said, "You want to come out to Acadia?" And then that's when he sent me all your stats, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to get out there with Tux and play at Acadia."
Yeah, well, I remember, and so for the people that don't know, Acadia University is in the was in the CIAU, further later renamed to the CIS. But I ended up out there after Notre Dame as well, and I had I had a couple of scholarship offers, but nothing that were too good. My grades were terrible, like they were pretty bad.
Yeah,
But that
same
was the
thing.
whole point of going out to Notre Dame to try to get you know, a scholarship. I had lots of looks, but um, yeah, in the end, actually, it's funny because you know, we'll probably get into Kevin Powell over a few of these conversations, but coincidentally, Kevin Powell, who played in the WHL and the SJ a little bit, and we ended up together at Acadia University. But we had the same story in that the summer leading up to Acadia University, I because I didn't accept an offer anywhere,
Yeah,
Bill Liskowicz, who was the coach at U of R at the time, he had me basically commit to the U of R and just we'll just sign you up and you play at the University of Regina, and then if you take an offer, then you know, you just go, I guess, right? So I actually committed to the U of R to play, and then in the last minute, I got an offer to go play at Acadia. I had no idea. I mean, they were number one in the country. We ended up, you know, winning a national championship in my first year,
yeah,
1996, 1990, 95, 96. And, but anyway, so when I got to Acadia, Palsy had the exact same story. I was like, I kind of feel bad. You know, I kind of screwed over old Liskowicz there at the U of
yeah.
R. And he was like, no way. I did the exact same thing. That was kind of like how he tried to bring guys in. He just would recruit you and get you to commit. And then if you left, you left. But if he had his fingers into you beforehand. And I think, did you do the similar kind of thing to Bill?
100%. So that summer I was living in Regina, and I was skating there, obviously. And
Yeah.
my older brother had went to U of R, so I knew Liskowicz from Hardy playing there,
Yeah.
and I knew all his buddies like Greg Hutchins and Bart Cote and all these guys that played at U of R, and they had a really strong team when my brother was there. But then it kind of started going. The U of R program started kind of going downhill or whatever. But
Mm.
he caught wind that I wasn't really wanting to go back and play junior, and so yeah, same thing. He phoned. He's like, "You're on the team, and you know, no questions asked. We'll get you in. Send me over your stuff." And I was like, "Well, you know, I'm just kind of feeling it out or whatever." He's like, "Oh no, you're in, you're in, you're in." And then literally like a week later, Dix called and said, "You want to come out to Acadia?" And I was like, 100%. You know, I'm not going to get a chance to go out to the East Coast for anything, you know, else. And Acadia obviously did the research and was a great school. And, you
Mm.
know, I was time to go to university and do something different. So, and I obviously knew you and Palsy. And actually, that's like the only two guys I knew that were out there. A lot of other guys were from
That's
the
all that mattered.
East.
That's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dix was like, well, call Tux and see what he thinks. And so I think we had a phone conversation that summer,
We
and you're
did.
just
Yeah.
like, well, you got to come out here. It's not even a question. Like, you'd be crazy not to. So,
Yeah. Dix had asked me. So Kevin Dickey, for the record, too, who's now the athletic director for all sports um, at Acadia, correct? He is.
yeah,
He runs the whole thing. So he anyway, he took over coaching at Acadia. I guess it would have been my last year at Acadia, and we had Mark Hanneman first, who was the best ever. I loved Mark, but anyway, Dickey came in and had him So going into my third season, he kind of mentioned to me in the summer, he said, Tuxie, I got this kid. I don't know if you know much about him, but his name is Barkley Sauter. What do you think? I think I got him. I just went, holy fuck, I can't believe it. Get him out here now, because he's a huge beauty and he's a heart guy. And anyway, we were pretty pumped to get you out there. It's
Yeah,
good.
it was best decision I ever made, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the best places to play. Now we're biased, of course, with Acadia, right? Because it's that's where we went. But I always tell guys, I mean, if you got a chance to go to Acadia, go to Acadia. But anywhere in the Maritimes, let's be honest, right? I mean, the Maritimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different vibe than going to U of C or U of R or U of S or whatever. But small town, small university, you know, you kind of know everybody in town. You get to know all the fans. We were putting for CIS to put 1,500 to 2,000 people in the rink to watch a game. Like that's one of the best things about going to Acadia and playing hockey there is just the support from the valley and all the fans and stuff like that, right? In the town. And then obviously the life outside of hockey and school is you can't beat. We don't walk to everywhere. Everybody's living in these houses that are chopped up into apartments, and yeah, it's just a big party.
Yeah, it's a pretty special place. But
I was thinking today, actually, on the way over here, can you imagine not having like your sport, like the guys that can't play this year? Like literally the only thing that was keeping me from getting drunk every day was the 48-hour rule before our games.
No. Yeah, I can't. Those poor guys. I feel bad for them. Like they can't with this COVID stuff. Yeah, it's such a big part of your life, right? Like getting to play whatever sport you're there for. That's got to be heartbreaking. But yeah, so you came in. So we had won. You guys must have been sick of hearing about, because we won. My first year, I lucked out. I was a four. I thought I'd be a big wheel. Had to go play in the fourth line, and we were so stacked. We won a championship, and then a couple of years later, we have pretty much a whole new crew come in, including the coach, Dickie, and yourself, and all you rookies. Must have been tough coming in hearing about the past. I would think. Hey.
Well, we had to put our foot down.
Yeah.
I think there was 11 of us first years, and maybe 7 or 8 core guys, and then Dick's brought in a bunch of guys to try to change things up, right? Because I think you guys had lost quite a few graduate players, and so we come in and we were literally it was kind of like the older guys and the younger guys, and Dick's was kind of with the younger guys. It was all his guys. And he's trying to change the culture, change the way that you guys played and all that stuff, right? Yeah. And we're all coming from junior, and that's just what happens. You just do what the coach says, and you don't have like really any say or any like ability to do it your own way kind of thing, right? So that was an eye-opener for me when I got to university. It was like, you have all these older guys that have won a national championship. They're like, oh, why would we change what we're doing, right? And so, but we struggled coming out of the gates that year, if you remember. And the speech every time we got into the dressing room was the Scarinas, the Weavers, the Clancys, on and on about all these past guys and how they did it and how they won and all this stuff, right? So I think, I don't know, it's probably about Christmas, and we were sick of hearing this speech about the Clancys and the Weavers and the Scarinas. And we finally had to go talk to Dix and say, like, if you give that speech one more time, like, we're going to lose our fucking shit. We're not. Like, this is a different team now. We got basically 10 guys on the team that weren't here for the national championship. Like, we got to try to figure out how to do it our own way, right?
Yeah, and it was...
Go ahead. You guys finally bought in. Like, I think it was probably a similar meeting with, you and Palsy and Dozer and those guys saying like, all right, like let's get on the same page here. And then we went on a run and ended up going to nationals.
I remember it so well because I'm the in between class, I guess, like with Neil Fusters and Paul Doherty. So we won, and we went from a super stacked team and the coaching style was, Mark Hanneman. We would go to the wall for him, but go through the wall for him. But there wasn't a lot of systems because we were that good. And hate to say that, but we didn't. There wasn't a ton of systems, so we just played our game.
Right.
And then Dix came in and all the new guys came in, and next thing you know, it's and I still fucking cringe when I hear it, but left wing lock, guys.
Yeah.
Left wing lock. So we started the season 08-2. And I remember calling a meeting, with the team, and some guys, especially fifth year guys and some of the older guys, were like not buying in. And you got to give a coach a chance. So it's like, okay, well, let's not hang the coach yet. Let's try this. And we'll see how it goes. I do specifically remember saying, and this was a changing socially, I remember saying, also, no one's in the gym and no more computers on the bus. Put the books away. We're having a good time. After the game, we're going out together as a team like we used to, and get your books done in your own time, which probably shouldn't have said that, but it was hockey first. Let's have a good time, bond. And then, we won 17 in a row. And we ended up in the national. We should not have been in that national final, in my opinion. But
I remember going into U of S and we played them first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were stacked. They had all the guys that
they were stacked.
From Saskatchewan, and like they were big, they were fast, they had tons of skill, and we had some talent, but we were really like left wing lock. Get a lead and just hang on kind of team.
Yeah.
And
I
think we ended up winning overtime in front of like 10,000 people at the rink in Saskatoon.
We did.
And then,
But they pumped us. U of S physically beat the living shit out of us. I remember. And then I'm pretty sure it was Wade Whitten got the OT winner. Or did he put it into overtime? I can't remember. Do you remember?
No, I think he got the winner. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he got the winner. Anyway, we lucked. We greased out of that one. They beat us up physically, but hey, whatever. We made the final, and we squared off against UNB, who was our perennial nemesis, and they basically haven't lost since. I mean, they've just been a powerhouse.
They've been on a run ever since that year.
So, all right. So you graduated, and then you headed where?
Unlike you, I did get a degree from Acadia University. Yeah.
Fuck.
I can tell that story later.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I stayed out there that summer, and I actually ended up training with Matt Price, who's now the head strength and conditioning coach for the LA Kings. He was, I don't think you played with Pricey.
I didn't play with Pricey, and I got to say it paid off. Your body is ridiculous.
Yeah, right. So probably the 1 year I was actually in shape was that summer. Like he had me swimming, we were running the dikes, working out all the time. But I ended up going to Fresno, and I hooked up with a couple of Acadia guys and an old junior buddy. So we had mentioned
Fresno. What league was Fresno in?
So they're in the West Coast Hockey League or something.
West Coast,
it's basically like the West Division of the East Coast Hockey League.
And that's gone now, right? I think.
Well, there's, the teams now like Bakersfield and San Diego and all those guys. They've literally all become American League teams for NHL teams now.
Right.
So that league is basically done. So I get there and it's like my buddy Chris Porter, who I played with in Weyburn my first year, he's on the team. Jason Weaver, who I'd heard a million stories about from Acadia, is on the team.
Yeah.
Scarina was on the team. And so I knew some guys, and I ended up living with Chris Porter. And I played up until January with those guys. And then they had a couple guys come back from Europe, and we weren't good in the first half of the year, but we were starting to come on. And they picked up a couple older guys from Europe, and they basically released me. So I was sitting in California. I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I going to do now? And I was sitting around there for a couple days, and Austin in the Central League called and said, hey, if you want to get on a plane, you can come down to Texas and finish the year with us. So I was like, all right. I ended up, packing my shit and going to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Played there till the end of the year.
That's a good town, eh?
Oh, Austin was a blast. Yeah,
Great town, I hear. Yeah, no.
like I had fun in Fresno. We basically golfed every day. There's a bar there called Porky's. We'd go after the
Mm-hmm.
games, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like an old school bar, like Morgan's or something in Calgary, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a blast. And then went to Austin, and totally different scene. It was a bunch of younger guys coming right out of university, like more guys kind of in my age group. Where in Fresno it was all guys that were, had been playing in the American League or in the East Coast forever, and we're just kind of finishing out their career in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go to Austin, it's a bunch of young guys, and we partied like it was crazy, like different, just a totally different vibe. So the first game I get there, we play, and I come into the dressing room, and there's 3 drink tickets on my stall. And I'm like, well, what are these for? And they're like, oh, you have to go upstairs and drink with the booster club after the game. So we go upstairs. We go upstairs, have our 3 drinks with the boosters, and then everyone's like, well, off to the strip club. So we literally get into our vehicles and head downtown Austin, which is like amazing. If you've ever been, they got just streets and streets lined with bars and live music. And so
Yeah.
we head down there after the games and rip it up till the wee hours of the morning. It was a fun town. Good group of guys.
Yeah. Well, that
I ended up breaking my wrist real bad.
Yeah.
At the end of that year, I needed to get surgery on it.
Yeah.
And that was it. I ended up
shut her down
after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so many good towns down there, and I'm pretty sure they've all merged in. Have they not? Like, isn't it just like they have the sorry, the American League, and then now it's East Coast. Am I right? Like Central is East Coast.
ECHL, yeah.
ECHL, yeah. So it's probably like 30 teams or 40 teams or something. It's got to be crazy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All those little leagues kind of all joined together, and I basically think now it's just like American League in the East Coast or whatever they call it.
A lot of guys probably wouldn't know this, but my first pro stint, I played 4-year-old man. I played for the legend Mike Sauter.
Yeah, you did. I remember coming to Winston-Salem for Christmas. I was still in Arcadia. I think it was my last year, maybe my second last year.
Yeah.
So my dad, he kind of sold his business. He was in his, mid 50s. He had coached when I was younger, like up until I was 3 or 4. He had coached in the WHL and the SJHL in Lethbridge, Moose Jaw, a couple different places. And then, he sold his business, and he's like, I'm going to get back into coaching, and got a job down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. What was that league called?
That was called the United Hockey League. The U-Haul, they called it, or the Cocktail League.
Yeah.
Like high pay and entertainment value, really, for the fans. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah.
So I remember him calling me. He's like, you know any guys that are looking for a place to play? I was like, well, Tux is at Team Canada. Like, he doesn't know if he's going to stick or what's going to happen there, but give him a call or whatever. And I think you guys connected, and I ended up.
We did, yeah. Yeah, we negotiated a pretty good deal. I came in there with some good cards to play. So because I happened to be with the national team at the time, and then, like I said, I got released from the national team eventually, and then he gave me the best deal. Really, he probably regrets it now, but I remember. I do remember your dad, which is one of the best stories. He, at the start of the year, we had. He's telling the guys, okay, like boosters are a big thing in the States with the sporting. And so we have a big booster thing tonight with all the fans and families. And so all the players got to go, and you guys everybody's got to be well-behaved, keep your drinking to a minimum. And so we're kind of still meeting the guys. And I remember your dad, you just started belting them back. Maybe didn't realize, because it was a pretty fun time, and he started crushing them. And then next thing you know, he had to make a speech, introduce the coach and the players to the town. And he's like, he is liquored, like he gets blotto. And I specifically remember seeing him go to take a swig of a beer, and as
Yeah.
he's taking the swig, this essentially murder hornet goes into his cup as he drinks it. and it stung him on the lip. He came
Yeah.
out and there was this big wasp hanging off his lip. And he's like, ah, and he swats it off. So he goes up to the podium and his lip is hanging off, so fat and stung. And then he told a joke that was completely offside, which was fantastic. You know, the guys loved it. So, but yeah, that was my, yeah. Then you came to visit at like Christmas time, I feel.
I think it was Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. That was in Carolina. Yeah.
We went out that night. Like, that's probably one of the drunkest I've been in a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was, we weren't afraid to light it up. That's for sure. So you shut her down and then,
I
so
ended
what did you
up
do?
like, so I was at the lake. I was at my cottage,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I had this surgery. I was in a cast, so I broke my wrist in Acadia on my left arm, and then I broke my wrist in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and get a CT scan there, and they do both your hands. They put both your hands on the table or whatever, and the guy's like, "Well, yeah, your right one's broke, but your left one is really fucked." And he's like, "You're going to need surgery." And so they did like a bone graft, took a piece of bone out of my hip and put it in my wrist. So they didn't even fix the wrist that I broke in Austin. They actually fixed the wrist that I had broken in Acadia. And I was in a cast for 6 months with that. And
Nice.
then as soon as that cast came off, they ended up resetting my other wrist. So I was in a cast for another 4 months
Brutal.
with that. Yeah, so I was in a cast for 10 months, but
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about playing again or going down to back to Austin, but fuck, by that time I was so out of shape and
Yeah.
just gross. I was sitting around the cottage, and Kevin Dix called me, and he's like, at this point, Dix had left Acadia and was the coach for the Saskatoon Blades. He's like, why don't you come up to Saskatoon? You can be an assistant coach and go from there.
I forgot you had a stint in Saskatoon. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So went up there. I think it was 2001 or two maybe 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Coached that year with Dix. We had a really young team, but we kind of overachieved. We made the playoffs. We ended up going to Game 7 in the first round against Moose Jaw, who was pretty strong. I think they were first and we were last in our division or whatever. Like, and then I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. We started the next year, and we kind of started out similar to our year in Acadia. I think we were like 3-8-3.
Yeah.
Coming out of the gates, and Dix got fired. He got let go.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, that can happen that easy, you know? Like, I was thinking about getting into coaching and going down that path.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Dix got fired, I stuck around for maybe a month or two. And the new guy that they brought in, I can't even remember his name now. He's a goalie.
This is the Blades. That's WHL, yeah.
WHL, yeah, in Saskatoon. I ended up talking. Dix connected me with Bill Peters.
Oh yeah.
Who coached Flames here and then got into some trouble here last year, but he was coaching at the U of L at the time. So I got a job with this commercial insurance company, and they wanted to relocate me to Lethbridge. So Dix contacted Bill, and then Bill's like, well, why don't you come be assistant coach at the U of L with me, and you can work, and I'll give you lots of freedom to come and go as you please or whatever. So yeah, I ended up coaching with Bill in U of L. We weren't good, but learned a lot. It was super fun.
Yeah.
The guys were great. We had great guys. I ended up becoming friends with a bunch of them, and finished out that year there. And then, I got a call from my buddy James Colopy, who was in Calgary, who I grew up with, and I'm sure might be a guest at some point on the Tuckshow.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we'll get them.
and then he's like, hey, this company, Hunting, which was a oil and gas service company, are looking for a
Mm-hmm.
sales guy. They're
Yeah.
looking for a sales guy. What do you think of moving to Calgary? And I was like, I'll go have an interview and check it out or whatever. And then sat down with these guys, and
What year would that have
obviously,
been? What year was that? You think? Is that
like
like oh
oh
four, oh
four,
five, oh
yeah,
four,
oh
oh
four, oh
five?
five, yep,
Yeah. So for everybody to kind of understand too, around that time in the oil patch, and I've been in the oil industry now for I guess 15, at least 15 years, and yeah, the oil patch in the it was boomtown. Oh 05, oh 06, it was an absolute boom in the oil industry, and there was this huge influx of sales guys because all these operators, everybody was drilling like crazy, and so there
yeah,
was a huge influx of service companies and therefore sales guys. I enter myself and Barkley, and there was a huge amount of ex hockey guys and you name it, anybody with a heartbeat was getting a job. Let's be honest at the
yeah, like
time, and
old stamps.
you couldn't sell anything, right? Like you couldn't sell anything because everything was flat out. It was so busy. A little bit of a
Yeah,
change to now, right?
yeah. I remember. So I took that job at Hunting, and
Mm-hmm.
I took it because I was like, oh, someone's gonna pay me this much money to do this. I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Yeah.
And it was so unstable going down that coaching path or whatever. I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'll set out. All my buddies are in Calgary, kind of doing the same thing. So I remember my first couple of years at Hunting, like it was literally like play hockey, play golf, you know, go get hammered with these guys, and they just send you POs, right?
Yeah.
And so Hunting's office was kind of out in the northeast of Calgary. It wasn't downtown, and I'd go out there. I'd get there around 9 or 10 in the morning because I was hungover or sleeping in
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. I'd stay for a couple hours, head back downtown for lunch, and I just wouldn't go back to the office because you're with guys, you're with customers. It was just a big party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get a call from the president at Hunting one day, and he's like, I want to see you in my office. And I called Bobby Hutt, who is a buddy of mine that I played
Mm-hmm.
midget hockey with. And I'm like, Hunter, you got to find me a job. Like, I think I'm getting fired. My boss called me in for a meeting. I'm hardly at the office. And he's like, yeah, no problem. We'll get you something. Don't worry about it. So I go in, have this meeting. I call Hunter back like 20 minutes later. I'm like, don't worry about the job. I actually got a raise. She's doing
Oh.
such a good job.
Different times. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was hired in a similar fashion with Akita drilling, and it was just like we would need a guy, 30-ish, single, sports background, golf, play hockey, do your thing. And I remember I got that big, first big corporate gig, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, geez, I've had this run since I was 14 of just being a wild man, and now I got a corporate gig. I'm gonna settle down and relax. And then he's like, and by the way, your gig is, you just build your network, and so I want you out at every party, every event, build your funnel for 7 nights a week. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess I got to put off settling down for a bit. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it should have just said Night Fighter on your business card, right?
Night fighter, that was it.
Night Fighter. Yeah.
And there was probably 600 of us back then, and now that's got to be whittled down to like 5 because the industry's changed quite a bit. So anyway, you've been in the industry, I guess, in the oil and gas now for the entire time. So that's
Yeah.
15 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a little hiatus. I moved out in, so 2008, things were getting kind of, shitty here, right? Everything was kind of slowing down.
The big house,
The,
the house bust, right?
yeah. And
Housing collapse. Mm-hmm.
I think that was when they implemented the tax on the SAGD guys.
That's right. Yeah.
And so they started basically slowing down. And yeah, my biggest customer at Hunting was Synovus, and they basically slowed everything down, and
Mm-hmm.
Husky and all the bigger guys, right? So but things were picking up in Saskatchewan. Bakken was basically brand new, right?
Yep.
So everyone was drilling these Bakken wells in Saskatchewan. They're having lots of success. they were coming on like gangbusters, these wells. And so
Mm,
I ended up moving back to Weyburn in 2008
mm,
and starting a construction company with my buddy there, Kyle Nimigears. And he was like a framer, but we ended up doing more like concrete work because shops were getting built, oil field service sites were getting built,
mm-hmm.
and we just
Yeah.
kind of capitalized on that. And yeah, we poured tons and tons of concrete and
Yeah.
built houses and did all this stuff for up until 2011. And then my wife at the time was, are we staying in Weyburn? Are we staying in Saskatchewan for the rest of our lives? And I was like, I wouldn't mind getting back to Calgary. So
Yeah.
basically sold my half of the business to my partner and
Mm.
moved back to Calgary, Cochrane in 2011 and got back into it here.
We should probably mention, I guess, in that time too. And you ran into some health issues. We've got some similarities there, and that we've had some health issues. But you had a pretty serious one around that time, did you not?
Yeah. So when I was in Saskatoon, I actually got diagnosed with colitis. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a flare up in 2002
Mm.
and I got through it. It wasn't too bad. And then basically I had no symptoms up until 2008. And then
Yeah.
in 2008, I had a flare up. I was,
And
we
what's a
were
flare up?
working.
Like, how does that go? What is?
So basically, your intestine gets inflamed, right?
Okay.
To the point where anything you put in your body just basically goes through you because
Mm-hmm.
uh, your intestine's so inflamed it just rejects everything, right? So
Yeah.
lots of guys can just get on their meds and get through it, and it calms the inflammation down or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I, of course, was not that smart, and I was kind of trying to push through it. We were working like 14, 15 hours a day, and yeah, I was just starting to lose a bunch of weight,
Yeah.
and finally, came to the realization, oh, I got to do something about this. So I ended up getting so bad, I passed out on one of the jobs that we were doing because I was so weak,
Yeah.
and they took me into Regina. I had yeah, they started putting me on all different kinds of meds, but I was actually ready to go home on right before Christmas. And so I got out of the hospital bed, went to have a shower. I'm standing in the shower, and then next thing you know, I'm basically standing in a pool of blood. So what had happened was an artery had burst in my colon, and I passed out because I'd lost so much blood. And I
Mm.
wake up, and everybody's in the room standing around me, and they're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna have to take your colon out." So I go down into intensive care. They put a bunch more like blood in me, and the doctor comes in kind of last minute. He's like, "Listen, there's a procedure we can do where we can glue that artery back together, and if it holds, we don't have to do the surgery to remove your colon." And at that point, I'm pretty young. I don't want to be walking around with a colostomy bag. So I'm like, do the procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So they do the procedure. It goes good. I start getting better. I go home. I'm good for about a month. And then I start getting fevers, like really bad fevers and cold chills. I'm not putting any weight back on.
Mm-hmm.
And
What were you down to? You
I
figure?
was down to 145. That's probably my lowest at the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my wife was pregnant with our son at the time. So it was a lot of back and forth from Weyburn or Regina to the hospitals trying to figure out what's wrong with me. They thought I had an infection, and they were giving me all these antibiotics, and I'd get better for a couple of days and then get right back into these fever, cold chills, like basically one right after the other, like
Mm-hmm.
24/7. So my dad finally came to me. He's like, "Listen, like nobody's telling us what's wrong with you, and you're not getting better. I think we need to go down to the Mayo Clinic." So we book an appointment to go down there. Um, and then we get there. on a Monday. We do tests Tuesday morning from 7 o'clock in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. And we're driving back to the hotel, get back to the hotel. There's a message on the machine in the hotel. Come back to the Mayo Clinic. We're gonna admit you to the hospital next door. We know what's wrong with you. So get there. The guy's amazing. Like there's literally 5 doctors standing there. The one young guy, he's like a GT doctor, and he's like draws the picture, shows me what's happening. Basically, what happened was the glue that they used to glue my artery back together had migrated down and kind of set up shop at my portal vein, which goes into your liver. And my blood was just basically poisoning myself with my own blood because it wasn't being filtered properly, right? So they tell me how they're going to fix it, and they do an injection into my gut a couple times to try to break down the glue. And that was like in March of 2009. Came back to Saskatchewan. I was starting to get better, and the next month, Kingston, my son, was born, and I literally haven't had any issues since. So, but it was a rough 10 months. Yeah, went on for almost like a year.
Well, I remember, when you were before, I guess you went down to the Mayo Clinic. So when I was working with Akita Drilling, and I had some contracts out there. I think I was going to Rocanville or somewhere with PCS.
Yeah.
And I knew you were in the hospital, and you're like the only guy I know essentially has doctor's orders or doctor's note to be able to chew, because I visited you in the hospital and you looked like essentially a Holocaust survivor, and you were pretty rough, and you had IV out of you everywhere. And and then I saw you pull your big tin of chew there, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And the doctor came in and was like, nope, we can't have him go off that immediately, because it would have been a bad thing, right?
Well, that's kind of what triggered the flare up. Was I stopped chewing.
Stopped. Crazy.
And they, later when I was in the Mayo Clinic, the guy explained to me like the tobacco is basically keeping your blood thin enough to like go through all these blood clots I developed, right? He's like, we've seen it before. We recommend anyone with colitis that is a smoker or a chewer, like they don't quit because it's too much of a shock to your system, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm the only guy, I think, in the history of the world to have a doctor's note from the Mayo Clinic that says I can chew.
Yeah, unbelievable. Hey. Yeah. Well, so and you haven't had a flare up or anything since.
No, been good ever since.
Yeah. Well, and I remember and then you were on your blood thinners, I guess. And so you're not on blood thinners anymore, right?
No, totally off all medication. Yeah. I was on the blood thinners probably for 3 or 4 years after. And it's just more diet and stuff for me, just making sure I don't get too stressed out or eat the wrong foods, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember your first stint back drinking. We went on a lover's trip. down to Whitefish, Montana. That was your first. You're like, I'm ready to drink. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I literally hadn't had a drink probably in like 2 years.
2 years. So I was like, well, let's go down there. I've got a place down in Montana there, and Whitefish. So that, well, let's go down. It was a lover's weekend, February 14th. It was Valentine's Day weekend.
We didn't even know.
We had no idea. We went down, and Barks basically after 3 drinks, you kept saying, you have no idea how excited I am. No, you have no idea how excited I am. I'm like, yeah, no, I heard you, Barks. No. I'm excited. And then you proceeded to black out like I've never seen a blackout in my life.
Well, I think we drank all the way down.
We did, of course.
And then we stopped at the bar at the border, which you always do. You get your chew and some beers. And then we went to your place in the lodge in Whitefish. I think we were drinking wine. We went and got a cup. I think we went and got a couple's massage somewhere down that point.
I think we did, yeah.
And then we went out for supper at the Italian
boat.
place, didn't we?
Well, no, we went to, oh, we did go there.
Or
But
was it
that
the
night,
lodge?
the night that you went off the rails, that was like the drive down, and then we ate at the lodge at the boat club. We
Yes.
said we had like
Yes.
a bottle of Camus Limited and like a hot dog and
Right.
chips for supper.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were already
The Wagyu hot dog.
gonzo. You were gonzo
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
before we hit the town.
So this would be what time? Like 7, 8?
7, yeah, probably 7, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we hit the town, and it's, I mean, Whitefish is the best, right? You've got one block, 10 bars, not even 10, call it 6.
3
Bounce
already.
back and forth. You hit all the bars, and I mean, I know for a fact I barfed on one bar. I'm pretty sure it was the local one, the Palace, and then we ended up at the Legion in
Oh, yeah.
Whitefish, Montana.
The VFW, yeah.
Like the VFW, and you were basically laying on the bar at the front, and we were drinking, their gallon. One shooter is basically a thermos in Canada. And you every now and then would pick up your head, I'm going to kill you. And then you'd lay back down. You're dead. And you'd lay back down. So I'm like, all right, we got to go home. So I take you outside and kind of lean you on a car.
Right.
And
we were waiting for a cab or someone to pick us up.
Yeah, we were waiting for a cab. And then you started barfing your face off. And so it was just red wine all over this hood of a white car. And, again, this is your first time drinking in 2 years. So,
yeah.
But you, the barf, the red. Anyway, then he laid you down on the pavement, and then a fire truck, an ambulance, and a cop car all circled us at the VFW. And I was standing there and I was like, are you guys here for us? They go, well, yeah, we just got a call that someone got stabbed in the face in the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, that's Cab Sav. That's a limited. That's a Camus. He's fine.
That is expensive wine.
I'm like, he's fine. Yeah, you poor bastard. And then they're like, well, we can't take him because he's just drunk and there wasn't an incident. Right. And I said, well, can we maybe just attach him to the top of the fire truck here somehow? And like if someone sits with him and parade him back with the lights on. And anyway, they wouldn't do it. So we got a cab home and that was it. Yeah. Well, we took a cab home, and then we had to go sledding first thing in the morning.
Oh my God.
It was like 6 in the morning. I took pics of you passed out all over yourself at the condo. And then at 6 in the morning, you bust into my room. You're buck naked and your eyes are bleeding. You're like, what happened? What are we doing? What are we gonna do? Are we sledding? What are we?
We went sledding too.
We went sledding, and you were the worst sledder I've ever seen in my life that day. But you just
that poor bastard. He had to dig me out 100 times.
Oh, you were digging. Yeah, he dug you out. And anytime we went, kind of high marking, or not even high marking, just up some steep slopes, you laid at the bottom on your sled and waited for us to finish playing in the snow.
Good day though, yeah. I remember being so sore after that. Like I couldn't move. Yeah. Every muscle in my body was just like, no, you were done. Well, and then anyway, so I guess fast forward from your health and all that stuff, and in the industry, to today, or around this time a couple of years ago, you and I actually went into business together. We attempted to, and I ended up at Ensign Drilling for a while. We had 140 rigs at one time, and global company, and I kind of got tipped off while I was there before I got whacked. I got fired in 2016, but I knew this abandonment thing was going to be an issue in the industry, and I was going to really try a backdoor entry into drilling, without having to raise a lot of capital. And so I thought, well, let's get into this geotechnical, and I had dabbled a bit with it, running the coring division at Ensign. Yeah,
I dabbled. And just so happened that when I was let go, I had already had a few contracts with kind of a geotechnical rig that we had in our coring division at Ensign. So, and some of them had mentioned, you should really go out and build your own of these. And they're not a lot of capital. So I was in the process of doing that. And then you kind of landed in my lap again, where you'd said, hey, have you got any ideas? I'm looking for something fresh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how'd you end up, I guess, in that? Where would you have been?
Well,
at that
so
time?
I was I was with Veda Capital,
Oh yeah, Veda Capital. That's the connection.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd left Veda and done a couple things on my own and just kind of fizzled out or whatever, right? But I was, I was just looking for something new, something different. I had a little bit of cash to invest in something, and I wanted to, again, you know, what happens. Well, what happened for me is you get into this entrepreneurial kind of mindset when you're here, and you see different opportunities or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, we started talking, and I liked the idea. I thought it was great. It was pretty minimal investment,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going to go build this rig. And at the time, it was a great idea.
Yeah. We got the
Yeah,
hats. Hey, we got the hats to
yeah,
prove it.
we
We got
got the
GD
hats to
hats.
prove it.
I
Yeah,
still rock mine all the time, and it's kind of like a vintage thing. We still have the rig, which we deal with all the time, but we should probably tell the story of our big deal. Like we almost launched, we almost we got the rig built. So Barkley, you had the connection with Veda, and they ended up being a partner with us, and
yeah,
they're still a partner to this day. We're looking to do something with this rig, but anyway, Veda. So we decided, just because we were struggling a bit, we did do a little bit of drilling, but honestly, not a ton. And then we thought, what if we just buy market share? Would you be interested in Veda? Said, yeah, do some research, and if you think you can buy some share. And so we pulled the whole market, and
yeah,
we cold called a bunch of companies that we thought are small mom and pop shops, and we were looking for owners who might be looking to retire. And so we could succession that way, buy a guy who wants to retire in the sunset, transition, and take over. And we found a guy who had 6 rigs.
yeah.
And
Kenny,
I'll say the name. We don't have a disclosure anymore. He's still in business. It's Canadian Geological Drilling out of Edmonton, and nice old guy. I struck up a conversation, and we we hit it off. And he was not opposed to chatting about, hey, maybe a takeover or buyout. And so, at this time, um, we negotiated back and forth a couple of times. We did a couple of pitches, and then through Veda, and then the last pitch was going to be the one where we were going to acquire this rig and warehouse and everything, the 6 rigs out of Edmonton. And I said to you, I remember you had tickets to a Flames game,
yeah.
and I said,
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night in Calgary, always a big Flames night. You end up at Morgan's, everybody blows it out. And I said, we should go old school, sales guy here.
Yeah,
Let's go out and blow our heads off tonight. We'll get up, we'll drive to Edmonton, and we'll close that deal. And
yeah.
so we went out, and shit got weird.
Well, it's funny because it kind of looked like it was going nowhere, right? We're at
Yeah.
the game. It wasn't
Mhm.
really busy. Like usually you run into a bunch of guys, at Dutton's or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The bar in the Saddle Dome.
Mhm.
And so we're just having a few beers in the stands, and then we end up going down to Dutton's after the game. And I think we ran into a buddy of mine from Weyburn, right?
Yeah, we
Trent
did.
Jordan's. Yeah. And we both kind of known him or whatever. We know his brother,
Mhm.
Marty, and then I think I don't know who was with him, but it was a couple guys we knew, and then
We ended
they
up with a
were
really, really random
random
and rowdy crew.
and heavy drinkers. They were
Heavy boozers. Like, we ended up getting in a limo with all these orangutans who we
Yeah,
don't
that's
normally
right.
hang out with. That's what
Yeah.
happened after the
They were
game.
going to Morgan's. We're like, yeah, we can go to Morgan's. And like I remember just drinking doubles shots. We get to Morgan's. Obviously, we run into some more guys that we know, and I don't really remember Morgan's that much, but
Mm.
you probably remember more. You usually remember more than I do.
I do. Yeah, I'm pretty good at holding it until I'm gone. It's like I remember, and then everything is gone at the end of the night. But yeah, there was a brawl. What happened was, I mean, we were smashed, of course, but it was
Leaning up
just a
against the
regular.
bar.
Yeah, we were leaning up against the bar, and then there was a brawl right behind you, kind of like we were on a corner, and we were just posted up. There was a brawl. We
Yeah.
weren't involved in it, and a guy basically smashed into you.
Right.
And so you automatically, I mean, I saw your face. You turned, you went red. You thought they're starting a fight with you, and you took this
Right.
kid and absolutely pizza popped his face off the bar. You thought about it. I remember you had him, and then you smashed his face. And yeah, I probably feel bad about that, but I mean, the poor kid, he actually was crying, came up to me, and I was like, go home, put ice on that, you'll be fine, but it's busted. And then he left the bar. And all these guys, there was guys in suits fighting, right? Like it was just kind of a melee.
It was a melee.
It was a melee. And then anyway, we went our separate ways. And,
So yeah, I got in a cab. I was headed out to Cochrane. That's where I was living.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the cab and just like,
Mhm.
I got to piss. And we're on the highway, like going to Cochrane or whatever. And for whatever reason, I don't know, I think I passed out. I'm not sure what happened, but I mean, I get in the cab, or I get out of the cab. It's like, I don't know, it would have been 2 or 3 in the morning probably at this point, right?
Yeah.
We got to get up. We're on the road at 9 to go to Edmonton to close this deal. So I get home, the doors are locked. I got to ring the doorbell to get my wife to let me in. So she opens the door, and I'm standing there, and I pissed myself. I am soaked from basically my waist down to my knees is just soaked.
Oh my God.
And of course, up and down me once, you got a meeting tomorrow, all this shit, right? Yeah. Take my pants off right at the front door. I don't even know where I slept, probably on the couch or in the basement or something.
Yeah.
Fucking same thing. I snap out of it. My phone goes off at like 8. I run through the shower, drive to your house, pick you up. We go to Edmonton. And we literally nailed that meeting.
Oh,
when we come out of it, he was like, when we come out of it, he's like, yeah, like you guys can have my company. Like
he took the deal. He took the deal. We were just like basically Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. Essentially, we were just like, yeah.
I remember the drive up though. I was hurting like.
Well, and the line that she said was to you in the morning. You told me in the truck when you got in, and you said, yeah. She said to me, you have the biggest meeting of your life today, and you pissed your pants. Yeah, I did, and I'm going to close it. Beat it.
Yeah, watch this.
Oh man, yeah.
There's been lots of those nights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into all that stuff if we do try to do some more of these. But yeah, well, it's good. Good to have you, man. We'll circle back and hopefully get you on again soon. See how all this stuff goes.
Yeah, I mean we've only touched the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Yeah, we'll get into some more shit. So anyway, thanks for joining me, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We'll check you next time back on the Tuckshow.
Bye. Right on.